Asante.
Yeah, that means thank you. Marina, karibu.
What?
Karibu, and you say asante. Asante. Can you say that?
Asante.
You are doing well. You are doing great.
You're doing well. So we should start now. And Paul, as is the tradition, maybe you can do the introductory part of what ABYA is all about and what ABYA is trying to do. Then I'll do my introduction before we go to our guests. Over to you, Paul.
Hello, viewers. My name is Paul Makolaka, co-founder and executive director of Africa Blockchain Youth Ambassadors, or ABYA. ABYA is a Pan-African initiative created to promote awareness, knowledge, skills, and application of blockchain, Web3, and cryptocurrency literacy and adoption through African university students. The reason why our focus is on the youth is informed by the fact that Africa's youth make up significant proportion of the population, but they are often left out of the formal economy and lack access to opportunities. This lack of access prevents them from thriving, resulting in high levels of unemployment, poverty, as well as social and political marginalization. And as a result, Africa cannot reach its full potential. The youth are the future leaders of the continent, and if given the opportunity, they have the potential to thrive. By investing in Africa's youth with future-proof skills, networking opportunities, and other programs, as ABYA, we are not only empowering individuals, but also benefiting society as a whole. These youth, these young people have the potential to make a real difference in the world, and we are proud to be supporting them on this journey. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Julian.
Asante Sana. Thank you so much, Paul. I'm your host. My name is Dr. Julian Rowe, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm the Director of Strategy Quality Assurance at African Blockchain Youth Ambassador ABYA, that is led by Paul. I'm also a scholar practitioner. I enjoy bridging the gap between theory and practice. Having just attained my doctorate from University of Liverpool, I enjoy difficult conversations, and I am an enthusiast of blockchain. I also wear another hat, that of the CEO of Schedules Business Management Consulting, which actually deals with the intervening in workplace-based problems. Our discussion today is on tokenomics under the bigger umbrella of blockchain. As our attendees, those who have joined us in this conversation, you can join into the conversation by posting your questions. In the fullness of time, when we are finished engaging with our panelists, we will put through your questions so that they can also engage with you. Let me first begin by reading the bio of a very brief bio of our guests. I will start with Marina Nadiva, calling all the way from Moscow, Russia. Marina has extensive experience founding and co-founding a number of organizations, including Art Collecting Space NFT, Art Collecting .info, and Art Collecting Space. She has demonstrated a history of working in the public relations and communications industry with sought-after skills in art consulting, event management, private collections, marketing, and public relations. In addition, Marina is a strong program and project management professional who graduated from State Academic University in the School of Humanities. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you.
Yeah, we also have in our midst Igor Ilyinsky. Did I spell that correctly, Igor?
Igor Ilinsky.
Okay,
Close enough.
I may struggle with that, but bear with me. Calling in from Arizona, North America. Igor is a tech entrepreneur, inventor, and a cloud and blockchain expert. He has been servicing law firms and running businesses for 20 years. Over the years, Igor has gained expertise in law firm marketing, web content management, cloud infrastructure, blockchain, cold fusion, web hosting, web design, database architecture, IT management, and search engine optimization. Igor has the technical ability to code in more than a dozen languages, including BASIC, Fortran, Perl, Pascal, Module 3, Solidity, and others on multiple operation system platforms.
Thank
Again,
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank, thank you very much. Now, as a start, very quick description of who you are. I'll start with you, Marina. Who is Marina? Very briefly.
Hi, thank you for inviting me on this conference. I'm co-founder of artcollection.info, art platform, and artcollection.space, NFT dApp on the Tethers blockchain. We started our NFT campaign this January and continue here in Moscow and then in Dubai in December. We're preparing ultra contemporary art prize and digital art exhibition in United Arab Emirates. So I'm inviting different artists, creators, collectors to join our community and help our community members to mint, to sell, and to promote their digital art.
Thank you very much, Marina. Igor, very briefly, who is Igor?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Igor Ilinsky. I focus on lots of things in the technology and business space, but a lot of tokenomics, which is focused more on decentralized autonomous organizations. So much of the work I've done is in DAOs. Don't work tremendously in the NFT or art space, so hopefully we can give a nice contrast to what Marina is talking about. But right now, most of my focus is on a project called Listen Up DAO, which is, you can see about it at joinlistenup.com. And it is a world collective of people who are passionate about storytelling and locations. And we're trying to build a audio platform for the world to tell stories.
Fantastic. When I was doing a research on you guys, I came across something interesting, Igor. You are a musician.
Yes, I am a multi-instrumentalist musician. I learned how to play probably 4 or 5 different instruments or types of instruments on my own. So I've never taken a lesson, but I play guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, pretty much anything I can get my hands on that makes sound and sound waves. I'll turn into an instrument.
Very interesting. Then my last question, which is a bit personal as well, is I read somewhere that you are a hacker. A hacker. So in our understanding, a hacker is not very positive, but this comes out as a very positive thing. Would you like to just say very briefly what that means?
Sure. Yeah, I think that hackers are very important to society, and generally speaking, people might perceive hackers as bad based on what the media represents them as. But if you think about it, many of the issues where governments are overly controlling or have too much power, it's been hackers that have been able to help correct that situation. So we like to hack for good, obviously, more than hack for stealing people's information. But even in that case, it shows that there are problems that need to be solved, because if you build things properly, they shouldn't be able to be hacked.
Oh, that is very, 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 very useful. I've learned something new today, the positive connotation of a hacker. So let's dive now into the discussion of the day. And Igor, I'll start with you again. In your own understanding and for our benefit, what is tokenomics?
Yeah, so tokenomics is basically just a question of incentives. What are the incentives that drive a specific individual or group of individuals to take on some sort of action? Basically, in a very traditional sort of organization or a company, you have people who direct the organization. They make the decisions about what the organization is going to do. What tokenomics allows for is for that direction to come from many different angles or to be influenced in many different ways. So basically, using your tokens as a mechanism of showing your support or solidarity for a specific initiative or project, you basically have the opportunity to also influence what the end result of a company or project will be.
Okay, that's very useful, but I'll still stick with you for one more question. Why does tokenomics matter? Why should we
Tokenomics,
care? Why
yeah.
should we care?
Yeah, sure. Well, it matters because everything in our society has value, right? Everything from a photo on a wall to an opinion about something to some information to, really everything in society has value. And it's a question of how much value is that and how is that value transferred, right? So if I give you some piece of information, maybe you give me some kind of something in exchange for that. And exchange and currency is essentially what's allowed our society to advance technologically, because basically we've been able to incentivize people uh, to create things that are useful, to create things that help society, to create things that help sick people, and ultimately the ability to create doesn't come from like a vacuum. So ultimately, what tokenomics allows us to do is really focus on the value. And if we utilize that mechanism, it's important that we focus on how to transfer the value.
Amazing. Marina, in the space of blockchain or distributed applications, a lot of words are used interchangeably and sometimes they can be confusing. So, the question I'm going to ask you, Marina, how, in your thinking, is tokenomics different from crypto economics, if at all? Is there a difference between the two so that our understanding can be better? Marina.
Okay, I think that tokenomics in NFT market is not so different than tokenomics in crypto market. Tokenomics is some kind of business plan. You create a strategy, you make calculation, you evaluate the market volume, you determine how many NFTs you will launch. You choose an appropriate NFT platform, and you choose an appropriate promoting strategy. You work with community, you grow your community or fun club, and after that you sell your NFTs. After selling your NFTs, you launch a making strategy to get royalties. Tokenomics supposes planning of the strategy on all the stages of NFT promoting from launching to developing the project after you sell all the tokens to your community. You make your tokens more expensive because you get your royalties as a creator or as a business owner. It depends of how you launch a project as an independent artist or as an NFT agency. So you calculate everything and you plan your marketing campaigns, you plan your market making campaigns too.
Thank you so much, Marina. Very well articulated. I'm going to put the same challenge to Igor. Igor, tokenomics,
Yeah.
crypto
Well,
economics.
yeah, I mean, essentially, I think semantics is something that plagues many different technology ecosystems, and blockchain is certainly one of the culprits in this because people use words interchangeably, sometimes not even understanding what they mean. So I would say, yeah, it's fair enough to say that tokenomics and cryptocurrency economics is the same thing. There are probably many other terms that we can classify in the same bucket. But ultimately, to me, tokenomics is simply a question of incentives. It's a question of, it's kind of like breaking down the initiative of trying to figure out how value is exchanged from a perspective of understanding people. So understanding human nature, what are people incentivized by? How do you inspire them to do certain things? It's something that incorporates economics, right? Supply and demand. These are economic factors that need to be taken into account. And so with tokens, you can mint any number, you can burn any number. So that comes into play. And then there's a question basically of communication. Do people understand what these tokens are for and how they're going to be used? So if that's my definition for tokenomics, I would say that cryptocurrency economics is not really very different.
Oh, very, very, very interesting. And I know you've mentioned cryptocurrency in that definition. Marina, what is your comment on cryptocurrency? Do you see it as different from everything else we're discussing, or is it one and the same? On cryptocurrency now.
Okay. There are different NFT standards. You can mint one NFT. You can mint thousands same NFTs. For example, there is FAR2 standard on Tether's blockchain, some kind of ERC 1155 on the Ethereum blockchain. So if you see the code of NFT and if you see the code of cryptocurrency, for example, on Liga, on the Tether's blockchain or on Solidity, on the Ethereum blockchain, you will see only two differences. One of them is hash of video or the image, and second one is the unique name of each non-fungible token. I will not describe the differences between cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens, but if you mint token via FAT2 standard on the Tether blockchain or ERC 1155 on the Ethereum blockchain, you should create a strategy related to the cryptocurrencies strategy, because there is no lot of differences between crypto and non-fungible tokens, ERC 1155, and between cryptocurrencies and NFTs, FAT2 standard on the Tether blockchain.
Thank you so much, Marina. Much appreciated. Igor, I'm coming back to you. Talk us through a token schedule. If you're to look at the end-to-end process of a token from creation, maybe to utilization, you're talking to a very lay person here.
Okay.
How does that schedule look like? Where does a token begin and where does it end?
Right. Well, I'll take this back a little bit to the question that you asked, Marina, because I think that maybe I see things a little bit differently. Cryptocurrency, in my opinion, is just digital money. And really the accurate way to describe that is digital representation of ownership. So we have all kinds of digital representation of ownership today. And there are really only two kinds that can exist: fungible and non-fungible. So ultimately, whichever blockchain you're talking about, and even if you're not talking about blockchain and you're only talking about, some centralized mechanism for storing points or value of any kind, those can only be in two forms: fungible and non-fungible. So I think a lot of people get confused because there's a lot of standards, as Marina mentioned, ERC 20, ERC 721, ERC 1155. That's just the Ethereum blockchain, and then there are so many more, right? This is not something people need to be concerned about. There are really only two types of tokens. One is fungible, one is non. Now, from that perspective, the fungible tokens are essentially a question of when you need them. So if you and I have no business with each other, we're just having a conversation, there is absolutely no reason for us to have a token. But if I want to give you something of value and you want to give me something of value, one of those items of exchange can be a digital representation of ownership of something. So just like people used to use seashells before we had money, before we had currency, it was a representation of ownership of something. And the digital representation is no different than the physical representation, except that it is much more efficient, it is much more decentralized, and it is much more secure.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Marina, would you like to react to that, or I can go to my next question?
Yes, just a little notification. Igor speaks about some kind of digital certificates. I think we use this term in the art sphere, but there are there are a lot of meanings of non-fungible tokens. You can create the other values, you can attract more audience, you can launch fundraising campaigns, you can create loyalty programs, etc., etc., etc. Just imagine that you are a music producer or a film producer. You can use non-fungible tokens for different goals, not only for confirmation of your own ship. I communicate with different creators every day. All of them want to raise funds. So I tracked mind on these values and help to create a strategy for creators who launch their businesses in art, design, and fashion spheres, and sometimes in cinema.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you very much, Marina. Now, I'll ask you another question. This is still to you, Marina. We talk about utility in a token. Different tokens might have different utilities. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what does all that mean? In your own words and in your own thinking, when we say utility in a token, what do we mean? And Igor, I'll also be asking you the same question. But let's start with Marina. When we say utility in a token, what do we mean? What should we understand with that?
Yes, okay. I think utility is some kind of value that the token owner will get after he buy this token. For example, he purchases Doodle's NFT. He gets not only JPEG image, he gets opportunity to participate in different events, shows, etc., etc. He gets access in the special community of business owners, of collectors and creators involved in this community. So this is an utility.
Thank you very much. And I'm asking the same question to Igor. When we talk utility in a token, what should my understanding be?
Well, utility has different different connotations depending on what sphere you're talking about. But I think that you essentially are, again, just translating what ownership you have. In this case, the ownership isn't a physical object, as it in many cases it isn't, but essentially ownership of utility. You can utilize the token for various different functions. Now, in many ways, tokens can be used as voting mechanisms. So if you own a certain amount of tokens, you can use those as a vote. Again, that's a right that you have. That's a privilege and ownership that you enjoy as having that token, but it's not necessarily a physical one. Another one may be in terms of profit sharing. You may own a certain number of tokens, and those tokens entitle you to some profit that's made by a economy as a whole. So if you own 5 tokens out of 100 tokens, you own 5% of that economy, and any profit that comes from that 5% should be attributed to you. Tokens can be utilized for utility of various different kinds of functionality in terms of building companies, which in the United States here is considered a security. So it could be a right to do some kind of work. So let's say you own some percentage of tokens, you are entitled to do certain work or responsible to do certain work. So it's, again, a type of ownership. So ultimately, I think every utility of tokens, whether it's for governance, whether it's for security, whether it's a voting token, whether it's an escrow, ultimately it all relates to what your entitlements are.
Entitlement. That is the big word I'm underlining there. Entitlement. Very, very interesting. Very good arguments from Marina and Igor. I'm really learning. Paul, how do you feel up to that place? Are we on the right track, Paul?
Actually, it's I'm really learning a lot. It's hot in here in terms of the content that we are getting from our speakers. So please, continue.
Okay, so I'll ask my next question, then we can go to the commercial break, Paul, if that's okay. Is that fine, Paul?
Yeah,
I'll
that's
ask
okay.
one more question. I'll ask one more question, then we go to commercial break.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. So this is my next question, and I'll start with Igor, then I'll go to Marina. I am looking at. I know we've talked about the schedule, but I'd like us to focus a bit on the supply and where it all starts. So if I'm looking at cash, it's a lot easier for me because there's a central agency that controls that and decides whether they're going to throw in more money or they are going to suck money from the economy, depending on the economic situation. And then they dictate how that money will circulate. So on the fiat side, I'm very clear, or we are very clear. Igor, this is my question to you. How is supply managed vis-a-vis demand?
Well, I mean, this is a question of economics and really a question of use. The reality is that cash is only simple because it's obfuscated, meaning that it's not something that you need to understand. You are given it and you can use it. So as long as you are given something and you can use it, you have the ability to take it into a store and exchange it for some goods or services, then ultimately you don't really need to know how it works. So this is why most people don't know how money works. They don't know that there's a central bank or that there's a Federal Reserve, excuse me, or that there are other kinds of people who are making decisions about how that money inflates or deflates. And in America right now, we're seeing the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, and people are seeing the impact of that in stores when they go to buy milk that costs maybe twice as much now than it did 2 years ago. So ultimately, a question of supply and demand is a question of economics, and it does take a lot of engineering to figure it out. But it should be based on the use and utility. It should be based on the number of individuals who are participating in the ecosystem, and it should have liquidity so that it could be traded for other forms of currency. So I don't think it matters whether it's paper fiat currency or digital currency. Ultimately, you have to trust that the people who are in charge of making the rules for that currency and are in charge of the supply and demand of it, or in, again, digital terms, the mint and the burn. You have to trust that those people really know what they're doing and are looking out for your best interest as a user of that currency, and be able to determine if they're not, that you can exit that currency. We don't have an option to exit currency in the fiat realm, right? I can't tell my mortgage company, I'm not paying you in cash anymore. Now I'm going to pay you in Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano, right? They won't take it. We don't have that choice. But in a self-sovereign society, we would have that choice, and we could opt out of the fiat system if we decided that the economists essentially were not looking out for our best interest.
Thank you so much, Igor. And I'll push the same question to Marina with a little twist.
Okay.
How is the supply of tokens managed?
Okay, I think this question is difficult for me because I'm an art historian and NFT platform owner. I can speak about supply of NFTs collections and cryptocurrency that is used to buy and sell tokens. For example, I work on the Tether's blockchain, and I see that mass adoption is a huge problem. We have to explain different creators and collectors from the creative business what Tezos is, how to buy crypto in stocks, etc., etc., etc. I think we have to achieve more and more results in the field of mass adoption, and to speak about this in 5-10 years later.
Okay. Thank you so much. You've handled that very, very well. We'll take a short commercial break. Paul, you can bring in our
Enterprise blockchains have limitless potential, but privacy is a major challenge. How can businesses secure their private transactions on a public network, especially when enterprise blockchains have been closed, unaudited, centralized? Introducing Polygon Nightfall, designed for the needs of enterprises. Nightfall uses a hybrid approach to scaling to give enterprises an option that was considered impossible. ZK rollups keep transactions private on a public network. Optimistic rollups offer efficient, scalable transactions. Secured by Ethereum, Nightfall means trust, transparency, and credibility. Aiming to disrupt the $50 trillion global supply chain industry, Polygon Nightfall unlocks the true potential of enterprise blockchains and empowers businesses to connect and scale in powerful new ways. Polygon Nightfall. Mainnet beta is now live.
Paul, yeah, go ahead.
Our viewers, ladies and gentlemen, that is Polygon. Polygon is a layer 2 blockchain that aims to help Ethereum with the scalability. By acting as a layer 2 protocol, Polygon doesn't aim to duplicate Ethereum's functionality. Instead, it helps improve transaction speeds and lower cost for developers. Now, Polygon is one of our partners who believed in what we are doing with to empower university students in Africa. Back to you, Dr. Julian.
Thank you very much, Paul. Very interesting conversation, Paul. I'm really enjoying myself. Marina is favoring us with so much information. Igor is giving us so much information. I don't think it could ever be better. So I want to take us to the next steps of our questions. Conscious about our time. We are so strict about the 1 hour that we want to engage with. I'll direct this question to Igor. I am an investor in the space of tokenomics. What should I be looking for? I am an investor.
Well,
what should I be looking for?
So I think in the United States, again, these are charged words because investor implies that you are putting in money with the expectation of a return on investment that is higher than what you put in, but not do any material work in order to receive that. In the United States, we call that a security, and we have a Securities and Exchange Commission, which requires that any security that has investments at that scale be registered with the SEC. So I would say that if you're an investor in a tokenomics and using that terminology, the first thing you should do is check to make sure that they are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and are complying with all local and national laws. But I think your question is probably more from the perspective of assuming that they are doing something legal and ethical. The question should be, what am I getting in return for my investment? So the first thing that you need to look at is what portion of the pie am I getting? Meaning, am I buying 5 tokens out of 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000? Right? What is the supply, the current supply, and especially the circulating supply? And how much am I getting of that? The second thing you need to look at is, does that supply move? Meaning, is there a increase in supply or decrease in supply over time? Are more tokens going to be released over time? This is something that most blockchain cryptocurrencies have built into their ecosystem, is a creation of more tokens, so an increasing supply over time. The next question you need to ask is whether or not you are getting some sort of preference on your tokens. So do you have the ability to use your tokens for voting, and how much weight does your vote have? So if the company or project goes in a direction that you do not like, can you basically use your vote to influence it? And the final thing is liquidity. Is when can you essentially take out any increases or decreases? When can you exit the project with your token and exchange it for a token of another kind? Those are, I think, the major things you probably want to pay attention to if you're looking to invest in a token.
Interesting. Paul, I'm inviting you to react before I go to Marina.
Okay. As you know, you can order for 20, 50,000 NFT platform on Polygon, on Ethereum blockchain, and developers will create you an NFT platform for this $10,000. So if you are an investor, you should ask not only about return on investments, you should ask about the audience of the project founder. How many community members does he have? How many subscribers in his social networks? Does he own his own media sources? So you should evaluate his audience and the audience of his team members. For example, you can invest in NFT platform of the business founder without any audience, you will fail. In the other case, you can invest in NFT platform of media owner, of fan club owner, or of a luxury brand with its huge audience. So the first thing you should attract your mind is the audience community.
Thank you very much. Paul, listening to all this knowledge that is being unpacked, especially in the area of investment, what is your reaction from the responses from Igor and Marina?
Actually, what I can say is that they have really unpacked this very well. And probably I can just, in addition to what they have already said, I could add two things. One of the things that we can also look at is the utility of the token. That is what real problem is the project trying to solve, so that there are those problems that we know that if a token is solving, then it will have very good prospects in terms of it is a problem that is affecting the masses, that there's real need to be solved. And then the other thing that we can also look at is, as an investor, is to look at the distribution of the token. And this is very important, because again, we have to be careful so that we do not have a situation whereby, for example, we have a big portion of token, which is a portion to, or it is in the hands of the core developers. So we need really to look at how this distribution has been done, so that it is well distributed in every sense of that word, so that we are not just talking distribute, that we're operating in a decentralized economy, and yet we ourselves, I mean, the way the token has been distributed, it is not well, distributed. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Julian.
Thank you very, very much, Paul. So let me twist it a little bit. A word that I came across, but I'm not very clear. So Marina, if you're clear about the word, you can tell us what it means. If you're not clear, I'm okay. We'll figure it out somehow. Igor, I'll also invite you maybe to make a comment. I came across game theory within tokenomics. Marina, would you know what that is and how it plays out in this space? And don't feel any pressure.
Could you type in chat? I don't
Okay, I will do that just now.
I'll explain it to you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, let Igor explain to you, and then you can then take it from there. Thank you, Igor. Go ahead, Igor.
Sure. So game theory is really a question, again, of incentivization. It's when you take in any kind of game, there's a question of what is the objective of the game and how can you get people to enjoy the game more, maybe participate in the game more, play the game more. So game theory is really just a science devoted to a subset of incentive mechanisms to determine what encourages people to do certain things. By incorporating game theory, there's also this element of what people are now considering play to earn, which is the ability to play games and, in the process of playing games, earning something of value and being able to use that as a mechanism of exchange. But ultimately, the idea of game theory is one of psychology. You have to understand people, what they're incentivized by, and how to get them to do certain things. And if you can do that from a perspective of your tokenomics or your business, then you stand to be more profitable and much more viral.
Fantastic. Marina, do you want to add anything, or we can move to the next question, Marina? Thank you, Igor. That was very clear.
Yes, thank you for the explanation, Igor. It was
not a problem. Thank you very much. Paul, have you learned something about game theory? I struggled with that quite a bit.
Sorry. Actually, Igor was on point. And remember, game theory is not only applied in tokenomics. Remember, we also covered it in crypto economics. So basically, as he has said, I think there would be no need for me to add.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We are approaching the end of our conversations today, but I'll have two last questions that I will pose to my very distinguished panelists. The first question goes to Igor. Igor, is there a risk of tokenomics failing? is there a risk of tokenomics failing?
Well, surely there's a risk of people doing tokenomics improperly, and so therefore their project would fail or their token would fail. One example of that is Terra, which produced the Luna coin, and that was a tokenomics system that was based on algorithmic stable coins. And essentially, they made some assumptions in their tokenomics that certain things wouldn't happen, which did. But this is no different than the Great Depression, when the United States had a run on the banks and didn't have the liquidity to provide the currency that people believed they had in reserve. So ultimately, sure, tokenomics can fail. It can fail miserably. But the entire science of tokenomics, I think, only grows stronger over time as our understanding of humans and incentives and human nature evolves.
Very good answer. Marina, can tokenomics fail? What is your view?
Sure, every business can fail, including crypto or NFT business. So, if you launch an NFT project, you should understand cases when you can fail it. I can share a presentation with some calculation. You can take a look when NFTs are fail and when NFTs get NFT creators find collectors and develop the businesses well. In the NFT sphere of all the fails are related with price and incorrect tokenomics. A lot of creators look at PAC, CryptoPunks, etc., and plan to earn millions on the pictures, but they don't create additional value. So they fail. When you create an NFT project, you should start with the idea. You should think about the values of the project, and you have to think about all the risks before
Thank you,
pay for it.
Thank you, Marina. So my final question, my very final question before we call it a day. Marina, you have so much knowledge. You have a wealth of experience. The young people listening to you, what book do you recommend for them to read? Or what YouTube link do you ask them to visit so that they can expand their knowledge, Marina?
Read.
Yeah. What can they read or where can they go to get more information?
I think it's best to subscribe on different influencers in Twitter and follow the news. Vitalik Buterin, for example, or founders of this blockchain.
Thank, thank you very much. Igor,
Yeah.
a depository of knowledge, expertise like I've not seen in a long time.
Wait,
What?
sorry, I forgot about Tezos Ukraine. Very good community and super professionals.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Igor, direct us to the resources that can make us as good as you as well.
Yeah. Well, I would say check out tokenomics.com. That's tokenomics without the vowel, as on my name marker, tknmcs.com. But the reality is, I think that you can only understand and learn blockchain and tokenomics by using it. You can't really become that familiar with it unless you are really engaging yourself. So I would recommend everyone join Listen Up. So you can go to joinlistenup.com. We are actually hiring many different African writers right now. We have a number of writers in Nigeria and throughout Africa that are contributing content to our platform, and we pay them in either tokens or in Matic, so Polygon tokens that your sponsor provides, or some other type of currency, whatever is most useful to them. But by using these systems, by contributing to the creator economy, and by being part of various different decentralized projects, you will have the best opportunity to learn about how to engage and how to become a part of them. And I think that's really where the whole world needs to be. Nobody really needs to understand how tokenomics works or how tokens work if they don't understand how to be part of that ecosystem. So I would rather people just be part of the ecosystem, start using it, and essentially contribute to society, rather than try and figure out, how any of these tokens or NFTs work, or, be speculative about whether or not they should buy something that may or may not be worth something.
Amazing. This has been a wonderful panel. We have drilled and drilled and drilled so much information. We have squeezed so much knowledge from you. Marina, Igor, from me as your host, I'm saying a very, very big thank you. And I look forward to again sitting down in this kind of conference for more conversations. Thank you so much. As I hand over to Paul to make his final remarks. Paul, over to you.
Allow me to take this opportunity to thank our guest speakers for taking their time to join us this evening. We really appreciate, and I'm sure all the viewers have enjoyed the same way that we have enjoyed, and we look forward to having you again another time on this platform. And I believe that this is going to be a journey for all of us, as our speakers are part of this this family that we are trying to create in Africa. So asanteni sana to all our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time again, may you all enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Bye bye, Marina.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you,
Bye bye,
guys.
Igor.
Bye.
Nice meeting you. Bye for now. See you soon.
Goodbye.